Christmas night, my wife poured my favorite wine like it was just another tradition. But the smell was wrong, sharp, chemical, like something that didn't belong. I didn't accuse her. I didn't panic. I simply switched our glasses right before we toasted. Minutes later, she turned pale and started shaking, and her parents rushed in, pushing me to sign away my house as a family gift. That's when I realized this wasn't love. It was a setup. If you want the full story, subscribe to the channel and stay with me. I dropped my son off at his mom's place in southeast Baltimore a little after 3. He was 14 now, too old to hug me in front of his friends, but not too old to glance back before he went inside. I watched him disappear through the doorway and sat in my car for a second longer than I needed to. Work had been heavy all week. Supervising security compliance for a federal building sounds clean on paper, but it means you spend your days thinking about what people don't see coming. You learn to read a room. You learn to notice what's out of place. You learn to keep your face calm, even when your gut tightens. On the drive back, I stopped in Fells Point. There's a small wine shop I've gone to for years. Nothing fancy, just a place where the owner remembers what you like and doesn't try to upsell you with a speech. I picked up the bottle I always saved for special nights, Cabernet. Same label, same vintage I'd bought last Christmas. Habit, comfort, routine. The kind of thing that makes you believe life is still steady. By the time I pulled into our townhouse, Vanessa had the front door cracked open like she'd been watching for me. She smiled wide, too wide, and took the bag from my hand before I could step inside. "You got it, right?" she asked. "Yeah, same one," I said. "Good. Tonight's supposed to be perfect." That word, perfect, had been showing up a lot lately. Perfect dinner, perfect holiday, perfect family. It always sounded like a warning dressed as a wish. Inside, she'd already set the table. She moved fast, like she had a list in her head, and everything had to match the picture. I tried to help, reached for plates, and she waved me off. "Don't start, Malcolm. You always make everything a big deal." I didn't argue. I rarely did anymore. When you live with someone who takes every question like an insult, silence becomes muscle memory. A little after 6, her parents arrived. Not a call ahead, not a quick text. Just a knock and then their voices filling the entryway like they owned the air. "Merry Christmas," her mother sang out, stepping past me. Her father clapped my shoulder hard, like we were buddies. "Smells good in here. That's my girl." They sat down like it was planned, like there was no other way this night could have gone. Vanessa kept smiling, kept moving, kept pouring sweetness into every sentence, and her parents kept talking about money, not directly, never directly. They had a way of circling it. "The roof on our place is getting worse," her father said, shaking his head. "A man shouldn't let his family struggle when he's doing well." "It's not even that much," her mother added. "Just a little help. Families take care of each other." Vanessa nodded like she agreed with them, then reached into my jacket hanging on the chair and pulled out my card. "We'll take care of it," she said casually, tapping it against the table. "I already ordered extra decorations too. It's Christmas, don't be so tight." My throat tightened. That card wasn't hers. She didn't ask. She never asked anymore. I stared at the tablecloth so I wouldn't stare at her. I listened to them talk about me like I wasn't sitting right there. A man, a provider, a paycheck with a pulse. I kept my voice even. "We can talk about it after dinner." Vanessa's smile thinned. "There you go again, making it a whole thing." Heat climbed my neck, then stopped. I pushed my chair back slowly and stood up. "Just need some air," I said. No one stopped me. No one asked if I was okay. I stepped out onto the small front porch and let the cold hit my face. Hands gripped the railing. Breath came out steady, but something inside me felt scraped raw. For years, I'd told myself it was better to let things slide. Better to keep peace. Better to be the man who holds it together. Standing there, I finally admitted the truth. Keeping peace had turned into erasing myself. The front door opened behind me. "Malcolm?" Vanessa called, still using that sweet voice. I turned back toward the warmth, toward the noise, toward the version of my life I'd been trying to protect, and walked inside just as she reached for the wine bottle. Vanessa set 2 glasses on the table like she was placing something delicate. Her mother leaned back with her arms crossed, watching. Her father kept talking, still on that same track. "A man's supposed to leave something behind," he said. Not just for his wife, for the whole family. Vanessa didn't tell him to stop. She just twisted the cork and poured. She filled my glass first, then hers. A perfect little gesture, like she was proving she knew how to be a good wife. She lifted the bottle slightly, as if she wanted me to notice the label. "Your favorite," she said. "Merry Christmas." I nodded and raised the glass. Didn't even look at them at first, just brought it close like I always did. The smell hit me before it reached my nose fully. Not wine, not fruit, not oak. Something sharp, like medicine that had been open too long. It didn't belong in a glass that cost what that bottle cost. I didn't react, not on my face. That's the thing about doing security work. Your body learns to stay quiet while your mind does math. Vanessa watched me. Her eyes didn't blink much. "Drink, babe," she said, soft and sweet. "You earned it." Her mother smiled like she approved. Her father tapped his fingers on the table. The whole room waited, without saying they were waiting. So I gave them something. I lifted my glass. "To family," I said. Vanessa's smile widened. She leaned in to clink. At the last second, I rotated my wrist like it was nothing, like it was a joke. "Hold up," I said, keeping my tone light. "Let's switch. Mine's bigger. You'll like it." I slid my glass toward her and took hers in return, smooth as a card trick. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. I just watched. Vanessa froze. Not long, barely a breath, but her fingers tightened around the stem, and her throat moved like she swallowed something that wasn't there. "Malcolm," she started. "Come on," I said, smiling back. "It's Christmas." Her father laughed. "Boy, you always playing." Vanessa forced a laugh too, then lifted the glass and took a sip. I brought mine to my mouth and pretended to drink. Let it touch my lips, then set it down untouched. She took another small sip, then another. 2 minutes passed, maybe 3. Her smile collapsed first, then the color drained out of her face like someone pulled a plug. She blinked hard, pressed a hand to the table and tried to stand. "Vanessa?" her mother asked, suddenly sharp. Vanessa opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Her knees buckled and she grabbed the chair like it might hold her up. Her father stood so fast his chair scraped. "What the hell?" Vanessa's hand began to tremble. Her lips looked pale. Her eyes went unfocused. I didn't ask questions. I didn't shout. I moved. "Phone out. 911. "My wife's having a medical emergency," I told the dispatcher. "She's dizzy, shaking, and she just collapsed at the table. We're at..." Vanessa tried to speak. Only air came. Her mother reached for her purse, then looked at me like it was my fault. "What did you do?" she snapped. I kept my voice level. "Nothing. Stay back." The dispatcher asked if she'd taken anything. I looked at the wine glasses on the table, looked at Vanessa, looked at the way her mother's hands hovered but didn't touch. Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. Once, twice, fast. Vanessa's father moved toward the door, but I got there first. I turned the deadbolt without thinking and held my palm up. "Stay seated," I said. I opened the door a few inches. 2 figures stood outside, bundled up, breathing hard like they jogged up the steps. Vanessa's parents, again, except they'd just been inside. No, my brain corrected itself. Different coats, different faces, her uncle and aunt. "We need to come in," her uncle said immediately. "Where's the paperwork? Your in-laws said you'd be signing tonight." I stared at him. "What paperwork?" He glanced past me, toward the table. "The house transfer. Don't play dumb. Vanessa said you'd do it. We gotta get it done before the holiday offices close." Behind me, Vanessa made a choked sound. Her mother rushed to her side, but still didn't look at her the way a mother looks at a child in danger. She looked at her like a plan was slipping. The sirens came faint in the distance. My stomach stayed still. My head stayed clear. I shut the door and locked it again. Then I went back to the table, crouched beside Vanessa, and kept talking to 911 while her phone buzzed on the placemat. The screen lit up with one name, over and over. Darius. The ambulance ride blurred into a series of short answers and tight hands. Vanessa kept drifting in and out, her eyes half open, her mouth moving without sound. I sat beside her, holding the rail of the stretcher instead of her hand. Not because I didn't care, because I couldn't. At Arlington Hospital, they took her straight back. I followed until a security officer stopped me at the doors and asked me to wait. It didn't feel like waiting. It felt like being placed in a corner so the room could move around you. A nurse came out maybe 15 minutes later. She wore her hair pulled tight, had tired eyes that had seen too many nights like this. "Mr. Harris, I'm Alyssa. I'm the charge nurse tonight." "How is she?" "Stable, still drowsy. We're running labs. Did she take anything? Any prescriptions? Recreational drugs?" "No," I said. "Not that I know of." Alyssa didn't nod like she believed me. She studied me like she was deciding what kind of man I was. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure." She lowered her voice, not dramatic, just careful. "Are you sure this was an accident?" The question landed heavy, not because it was loud, but because it was quiet and plain. I didn't answer right away. My mind ran through everything at once. The smell in the glass, the way Vanessa pushed me to drink, the knock at the door, her uncle talking about paperwork, her phone buzzing with Darius like a metronome. "No," I finally said. "I'm not sure of anything." Alyssa held my gaze. "Okay, then don't let anyone talk you out of taking this seriously. We see this more than people think." She walked away before I could ask what she meant by this. I sat in the waiting room with my coat still on. The TV played some holiday movie, volume low. People came in and out with blankets on their shoulders. A kid cried near the vending machines. None of it matched what was happening inside my chest. My phone started lighting up. First Vanessa's mom. I let it ring. Then her dad. Then a number I didn't have saved. Then another. Text messages followed. Cousins, an aunt, someone from her church. "Why are you doing this to her? Stop being dramatic. She probably mixed wine with medication by mistake. You always want to control everything." I stared at the screen until the letters stopped meaning anything. For years I'd tried to be the calm one, the reasonable one, the man who kept the family from splitting into pieces. Now I was realizing something I'd avoided admitting. A group of people will protect comfort over truth every single time, as long as the truth threatens their image. Alyssa came back out with a doctor. He introduced himself quickly and spoke in that direct, tired tone ER doctors have. "Mr. Harris, your wife has a sedative in her system. We don't know the exact source yet, but it's consistent with a benzodiazepine or something similar. We're treating her and monitoring her breathing." "So, she was drugged?" The doctor didn't say yes, didn't say no. "She has a sedative in her blood. We'll document everything. If law enforcement needs records, we can release them with the proper request." That was enough for me. "I want everything documented," I said. "Every test, every note, I want copies." The doctor nodded once. "That's your right." I sat back down, hands flat on my knees. My phone buzzed again, Vanessa's number this time. I didn't answer. A second later, the screen lit up with a preview from her lock screen notifications. She must have sent it while she was still in the back. The message wasn't to me. "Don't let him talk to the cops. Stall it until morning." My stomach didn't flip. It just went cold. I stood up and walked straight to the front desk. The woman behind it looked up, already tired of people. "I need hospital security," I said. "And I need the police notified. There's a situation here, and I'm giving a statement tonight." She hesitated. "I'm her husband." That didn't matter. I could see it in her face. Family drama was noise to her. So I didn't plead. I didn't explain. I didn't raise my voice. I leaned in and spoke the way I do at work when the rules matter. "My wife has a sedative in her system that she did not take voluntarily. I have evidence of an attempt to tamper with a drink in our home. I want this documented, and I want an officer here now." Her posture changed, just slightly. She picked up the phone and made the call while I stood there, watching the hallway that led back to Vanessa, already knowing this night wasn't ending when the labs came back. The officer who took my statement at the hospital didn't waste time. "You're saying you believe someone drugged a drink in your home," he said, pen moving fast. "And your wife is the one who ingested it?" "Yes, because I switched the glasses." He paused, looked up. "Why'd you switch them?" "Because it smelled wrong," I said. "And because everyone at that table kept watching me like they were waiting for something." He wrote that down too. No judgment, just paper. Before dawn, I drove to the Arlington County Police Station with the bottle in a sealed bag. I didn't dress up, didn't shave, didn't eat. I walked in and asked to file the formal report. then asked them to request hospital records and coordinate with Baltimore for the camera footage from my home. The desk sergeant took my ID, glanced at my job badge, and his face shifted slightly. "You work federal?" "Yes." He nodded like he understood the kind of man who shows up with evidence instead of a story. I gave them everything I had. The remaining wine, the timestamps, the names of the relatives who knocked, the phone call log showing Darius hitting Vanessa's phone over and over. I asked them to preserve my doorbell footage and the interior security feed. Then I asked for a case number. The sergeant printed it out, slid it across the counter. "We'll contact Baltimore PD to assist," he said. "They'll handle anything tied to your residence." I thanked him and stepped outside. The cold air didn't wake me up. It just reminded me I'd been running on adrenaline and stubbornness. My phone rang the second I got into the car. Vanessa. I let it go once, then twice. On the third ring I answered, mostly to stop the buzzing in my pocket. "Malcolm, please," she sobbed. "What are you doing? You're ruining me. You're turning my family against me. You're in a hospital bed because you drank what you poured for me," I said. "Stop pretending this is about feelings. It was a mistake. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." "Then tell the police what you do know." Her crying broke into short breaths. "You're killing me, Malcolm. You're killing me with this." I didn't yell. I didn't argue. "Get some rest," I said, and ended the call. A few minutes later, my phone started vibrating again. Messages this time. A coworker I'd trained with years ago. "Hey man, you good?" Another. "You seeing this?" I clicked the link. A Facebook post from Vanessa's cousin. A long paragraph, no names, but it didn't need names. "Some men don't hit you with fists. They break you with control, making you look crazy, using authority to punish women." People had already reacted. Comments were piling up. Hearts, angry faces, prayers. My stomach stayed calm, which was strange. The part of me that should have panicked just started collecting facts like it always did. Screenshots, timestamps, names. I didn't respond. Not a word. Instead, I saved everything, then pulled up my contacts and searched for a lawyer. Jordan Bennett's office in D.C. came up first. A colleague had mentioned him years ago after a nasty divorce. I called. A receptionist answered. "I need to meet Jordan Bennett tomorrow morning," I said. "It's urgent. I'm dealing with a criminal situation tied to a marriage." She hesitated. "Sir, it's Christmas week. I'll be there when you open." I drove back to Baltimore in the dark, highways mostly empty, headlights stretching ahead like thin lines. The phone kept buzzing on the seat beside me, but I didn't pick it up again. By the time I crossed into Maryland, one thing had settled in my mind, clear as a rule written in stone. They weren't just trying to hurt me. They were trying to make sure nobody believed me when I finally spoke. Jordan Bennett didn't look like the kind of lawyer who enjoyed drama. He looked like a man who'd seen enough of it to get bored. Mid-50s, neat suit, calm eyes, and a way of listening that made you feel like he was already sorting facts into categories. We met in a coffee shop a few blocks from Capitol Hill. I got there early, sat with my back to the wall, and spread my paperwork across the small table like I was laying out evidence for an internal review. Jordan arrived right on time, ordered black coffee, then sat down without small talk. "Let's start with what you know," he said. I handed him the hospital discharge notes, the police report, the case number, the photos of the wine bottle, and the screenshots of Vanessa's message. He read everything slowly. No raised eyebrows, no sympathy face, just attention. When he finished, he slid the papers back toward me. "This isn't just a bad night, Mr. Harris," he said. "It's either criminal intent or gross negligence. And either way, you treat it like a threat, because it usually comes with a money trail." "Money?" I repeated. "Insurance, property, retirement, anything that turns a person into a payout." That sentence sat between us like a weight. Jordan tapped the police report with one finger. "If your wife recently made changes to any policies, if she's pushed you to sign anything, if there's been talk about family assets, that matters. That's motive. And motive gives police a direction." I thought about the way Vanessa had been acting for months, the sudden interest in paperwork, the "just sign here" tone, the way she'd gotten annoyed when I asked questions, like questions were disrespect. Jordan watched my face. "You've signed something, haven't you?" Not exactly, I said. But she's tried. Go home today. Check every file, every folder, every email. If you find anything, don't confront. Copy it. Bring it to me. He slid a business card across the table. And from now on, you don't speak to her family alone. You don't meet anyone without witnesses. You don't answer emotional bait. Everything goes through counsel. I pocketed the card and left the coffee shop with my chest tight and my mind already running through cabinets and drawers. Back in Baltimore, I went straight to the small safe we kept in the closet. Vanessa always called it our little security box, but I was the one who kept the code. I spun it open, pulled out the folders, and started flipping. Mortgage documents, tax returns, birth certificate copies, titles. Then I saw it. A life insurance policy printout, clipped neatly, with a recent date at the top. The coverage amount was higher than anything I'd ever agreed to. My name was on it. Vanessa's name was listed as primary beneficiary. Another sheet sat behind it, a medical power of attorney form. My signature was there, but it wasn't completed. I remembered her placing it in front of me weeks earlier. Just in case something happens, she'd said. I stared at the page until my eyes burned. None of it was random. None of it was harmless. My phone buzzed again. A text from Vanessa. Please stop. I only wanted our family to be okay. Then another message came in from my ex-wife. Vanessa called me. What is going on? My jaw clenched. That's when it clicked. This wasn't panic spilling out into the world by accident. She was reaching for every person who could pressure me. She was building a circle around me and calling it concern. I didn't reply to anyone. Instead, I photographed every page in the safe, backed it up twice, then forwarded copies to Jordan's secure email. After that, I turned my phone face down on the kitchen counter and opened a new note to myself with one simple line at the top. No more conversations without a lawyer. I didn't sleep. Not because I was spiraling, because my body had switched into a mode I recognized from work, the part where you stop hoping and start securing. I shut every curtain, checked every lock, then went room by room with a grocery bag and my phone. Kitchen first. I opened the trash can under the sink and pulled the liner out carefully, like I didn't want to smear anything. Coffee grounds, wrappers, a foil pack with 2 pills missing. The label had been torn, but the imprint codes were still there. I took photos, dropped the pack into the bag, and wrote the time in my notes. Bathroom next. I checked the medicine cabinet. Nothing obvious. Vanity drawer. A small bottle of melatonin, half empty. I kept looking anyway. In the hall closet, I found the receipt from the wine shop in Fells Point. I photographed it and tucked it into the safe. Then I went to the small cabinet where we kept batteries and manuals and found an extra set of keys I didn't recognize. That made my mouth go dry. I didn't confront Vanessa. She wasn't even home yet. Still at the hospital, still surrounded by people who would treat her like she was fragile instead of responsible. I pulled up the doorbell camera app and downloaded the clips from the night before. There it was, her uncle and aunt showing up right after the ambulance left. Then another clip. A car idling down the block longer than it needed to. Headlights off. It rolled away the second my porch light flipped on. I grabbed the interior security footage too, the living room angle that caught the dining table in the hallway. It showed Vanessa pouring. It showed my hand switching the glasses. It showed her pause, that tiny break in her routine. It showed her lips touching the rim of the wrong glass. I saved it all in 2 places and sent a copy to Jordan. The next alert came from my bank. New device logged into your account. My thumb hovered over the screen. The login location wasn't Baltimore. It was closer to DC. I changed every password right there, then set up 2-factor authentication on everything I could think of. Email, banking, insurance portal, even the account for our utility bills. Another message popped up from an unknown number. Don't make this bigger than it has to be. No name. No threat spelled out, just a nudge, the kind meant to make you second-guess yourself. I didn't reply. I drove to the bank instead, got a safe deposit box, and moved the hard copies of every important document out of the house. Deed, titles, birth certificates, court paperwork from my first marriage, everything that could be used against me. On the way back, I noticed a dark sedan parked 2 houses down. The engine wasn't running. Nobody inside moved. I kept walking, unlocked my door, stepped in, then glanced back through the window. The sedan pulled away like it had been waiting for a signal. My phone rang again. Darius. I hadn't spoken to my brother in weeks, not since he'd asked to borrow money and I told him no. I answered on the third ring. "Little brother," he said, voice warm like honey. "Heard about Vanessa. Man, you okay? Why are you calling me, Darius?" He laughed softly, like I was being dramatic. "Because I care. Because family checks in. That's what we do." He paused, then lowered his voice. "Don't let this get out of hand, Malcolm. People are talking." I leaned against the kitchen counter and stared at the bag of evidence sitting on the floor. "Yeah," I said. "I know." Darius picked the spot. A convenience store parking lot off North Avenue, the kind of place where nobody asks questions because everyone's busy doing their own thing. He texted me a time like it was an appointment. "Just come talk. Keep it in the family." I showed up a few minutes early and parked near the far end. Didn't bring anyone. Didn't bring drama. Just my phone, my keys, and a head full of facts. Darius rolled in like he owned the lot. He climbed out smiling, hands open, acting like we were meeting to catch up. "There you go, little brother," he said, leaning against his car. "You look tired. I told you stress will mess you up." "Say what you came to say," I replied. That made his smile dip for a second. He recovered fast. "Look, I heard Vanessa's been through it. Her parents are scared. Everybody's confused. And you're making it worse." I didn't answer. I waited. Darius sighed, like he was the one carrying burdens. "She told me what happened," he said. "She said you switched the glasses to test her, like you were trying to prove a point. Man, that's not normal." "She texted someone from a hospital bed, telling them not to let me talk to the police," I said. "Or she was scared, Malcolm. People panic. You know how women get when they feel cornered." That line hit wrong. Not because it was sexist, because it sounded rehearsed, like something he'd said before to make situations messy. He stepped closer, lowering his voice like this was brother-to-brother wisdom. "You're gonna ruin your own life if you keep pushing," he said. "You're federal. You know what it looks like when a man uses authority to control his wife. They already got folks online talking about you. You want that in your file? You want your job sniffing around?" "This isn't about my job," Darius shrugged. "Everything's about your job when you've got a badge. And listen, you've got a kid. Don't forget that. Your ex-wife hears domestic incident. You think she won't try to change custody? You think a judge won't side-eye you?" My jaw tightened. He knew exactly where to press. My son was the one piece of my life I never gambled with. Every decision I made had him in the background like a heartbeat. And Darius knew that. He'd seen me fight in court before. He'd watched me sit outside the courthouse, hands shaking, trying not to cry because a man isn't supposed to cry in public. He leaned in just a little more. "Let it go, Malcolm," he said. "Let Vanessa recover. Handle it quiet. You don't need police. You don't need lawyers. You need to be a husband." For a moment, I almost heard him. Not because he was right, because that old instinct to keep peace still lived in me. Then Darius added too casually, "And all this talk about insurance in the house, man, you're spiraling. Don't start tearing up what you built over paperwork." I stared at him. "What do you know about my insurance?" His face didn't change much, but his eyes flicked away. Quick, a mistake. "Nothing," he said too fast. "I'm just saying, people talk." I nodded once, like I accepted it. "We're done," I said. I got back in my car and drove out without another word. No argument, no warning, just distance. At the first red light, my phone buzzed. An email from the bank. "Transfer attempt declined. Insufficient authorization." My hands stayed steady on the wheel while my brain caught up. Someone had tried to move money from our joint account. Not later, not eventually, right then. I turned into a side street, put the car in park, and opened my banking app with my thumb already knowing what I was going to see. The bank opened at 9. I was there at 8:45, sitting in my car, watching the doors like they might change their mind and stay locked. When the manager finally waved me in, I didn't waste his time. "My joint account has been accessed without my consent," I said. "I need it frozen, today." He asked a few questions, pulled up the activity log, and his eyebrows lifted when he saw the failed transfer. "That attempt came from a device we don't recognize," he said. Exactly. Lock it down. And I want a new account number. He nodded, already moving. Paperwork took 20 minutes. I signed where he pointed, then walked out with the kind of calm you only get when you've accepted that your life is now a file folder. From the parking lot, I called Jordan Bennett. They tried to move money this morning, I told him. Jordan didn't sound surprised. Good thing the bank flagged it. Keep the receipt for the freeze. Send it to me. There's something else, I added. Darius asked me about my insurance like he already knew it existed. Jordan went quiet for a beat. Then we stopped guessing. We pulled the policy records. By noon, Jordan had a formal request drafted. We sent it to the insurance company's fraud department and asked for the agent notes, the application history, and the communication logs tied to Vanessa's recent coverage increase. Late afternoon, an email came through. Not the full file yet, just a summary and a name. The referring contact listed on the application wasn't Vanessa's friend. It wasn't a random coworker. It wasn't even a local agent who happened to call at the right time. It was a man named Marcus Delaney. Under relationship, it read, former colleague of D. Harris. My throat tightened, not with shock, with something colder. Because now it wasn't a suspicion. It was a line connecting two dots I'd been trying not to connect. I forwarded the email to Jordan without adding a word. Then Alyssa called. I answered on the first ring. Mr. Harris? She said. The talk screen came back. The sedative level matches a prescription-grade sleep medication, not something over the counter. So she didn't accidentally mix melatonin with wine. No, Alyssa said. And if law enforcement requests it, the hospital can release the documentation. Just make sure your detective sends the proper form. Thank you. Alyssa hesitated like she wanted to say more, then kept it simple. Stay careful. People don't do this once and then suddenly become honest. I ended the call and sat in my car for a minute, phone in my hand, letting the pieces line up the way they always do when you stop fighting reality. Vanessa posted again that evening, a soft apology, vague enough to mean nothing. She wrote about misunderstandings and marriage struggles and how everyone needs grace. Her family flooded the comments with prayers. Darius didn't post. He didn't need to. He'd already moved in the shadows, where paperwork and pressure worked better than fists. I opened my notes app and typed 4 words in a row, each on its own line. Sedative, insurance, property, Darius. Then I called Jordan back and asked him what the next step was. Jordan told me not to meet Vanessa alone. Public place, he said. Witnesses, cameras, and I'll be there. We chose a cafe in DC that stayed busy even after lunch. Not because I wanted an audience, but because I wanted limits. No closed doors, no private corners, no room for a story to grow legs. Vanessa arrived 10 minutes late wearing sunglasses indoors. She sat across from me like she'd been rehearsing sadness in the car. The moment she saw Jordan, her mouth tightened. So it's like that, she said. Jordan set a folder on the table. It's like this, he corrected. You asked to meet. We're here. Vanessa looked at me and let her voice shake. Malcolm, I almost died. And you're acting like I did something to you. I didn't answer. I watched her hands. She kept them visible, palms up, like she wanted to look harmless. You switched the glasses, she continued. You did that. You played games. If I got hurt, it's because you... Jordan held up a finger. Don't, he said. Vanessa swallowed and forced tears. You always do this, she said to me. You make everything a case file. You treat people like suspects. I just wanted our family to be okay. Right on cue, her parents walked in. I hadn't invited them. Jordan hadn't either. Vanessa's mother moved straight to our table with that same righteous energy she always carried. Like God personally assigned her to correct me. Look at you, she snapped, dragging lawyers into Christmas. You should be ashamed. Her father didn't sit. He stood over me, hands on the back of a chair. You think you're better than us because you got a federal job, he said. You think you can threaten my daughter with police? Vanessa dabbed at her eyes and spoke softly, like she was the victim in a courtroom. I can file for emotional distress, Malcolm. You know that, right? I can tell them you're unstable. You've been... scary. I could have argued. I could have listed every insult, every boundary crossed, every time she used my money like it was a shared toy. Instead, I reached into my bag and slid my phone across to Jordan. Jordan opened it and started pulling up files. Doorbell footage. Interior video. The message, "Don't let him talk to the cops." The bank login alerts. The insurance referral name. The hospital talk summary. Vanessa's mother leaned forward. "That proves nothing," she snapped. "You're twisting—" Jordan didn't look up. "We're not twisting anything," he said. "We're submitting it." Vanessa's face shifted when she realized the folder wasn't for a threat. It was for a process already in motion. Her father turned red. "You can't do this to her." Jordan finally met his eyes. "Watch me," he said. A police officer walked in a minute later. Not dramatic, just a man in uniform scanning the room like he'd rather be anywhere else. Another followed. They approached the table and asked for Vanessa by name. Vanessa's lips parted. No sound came out. Her eyes flicked to me, then to Jordan, then to her parents. "Ma'am, we need to ask you a few questions about an incident on Christmas night," the officer said. Vanessa's mother started talking over him. "This is ridiculous. He's lying." The officer kept his tone flat. "Ma'am, please step aside." My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't check it right away. Then it buzzed again and I glanced down. A text from Darius. "You really going all the way with this?" I didn't reply. I just watched Vanessa stand up slowly, hands shaking now for real, as the officers guided her away from the table while her parents argued with air and Jordan zipped the folder shut like he was closing a file he'd already won. The courthouse in Baltimore doesn't care about your heartbreak. It doesn't care that it's winter. Doesn't care that you once promised forever. You walk in, take a number, sit on a hard bench, and wait while strangers handle their own disasters a few feet away. Jordan met me at the entrance. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't pat my shoulder. He just handed me a clipboard. "Sign here," he said. "And here, this is the petition. This is the temporary protective order request. This is the notice to change beneficiaries and revoke prior authorizations." I signed each page without pausing. My hand didn't tremble. The pen moved steady, same way it does when I certify a report at work. Some part of me expected my chest to crack open, to feel grief the way movies pretend men feel it. Instead, all I felt was the clean weight of a decision made too late, and finally made all the way. Vanessa's attorney tried to contact Jordan the night before, asking for a private conversation. Jordan declined. Vanessa sent a message through a cousin, saying she needed to explain. I blocked the cousin too. There was nothing left to explain. The judge granted the temporary order. No contact. Stay away from my home. Stay away from my job. Stay away from my son. The clerk stamped it like it was any other piece of paper, then slid it into a file. Outside the courtroom, my phone buzzed with updates I didn't ask for. Vanessa had been charged. Attempted poisoning, insurance fraud, document falsification. The police didn't call it a misunderstanding. They called it what it was. She lost her job within a week, not because the company cared about me, but because once your name hits a case like that, nobody wants you representing them. Friends stopped answering her calls. The same relatives who typed prayers under her posts started deleting comments. And Darius, I didn't even know where to begin with Darius. The officers came for him 2 days after Vanessa's interview. They didn't kick down a door. They didn't make a scene. They walked up to his row house while his neighbors were outside smoking, put cuffs on him, and read him his rights. Somebody recorded it. Of course they did. It circulated in group chats before lunch. My brother, who used to lecture me about loyalty, who used to remind me he was the oldest, who always spoke like he carried wisdom, stood there with his wrists chained like a man who never understood consequences. Jordan called me with the update. "He's being charged as a co-conspirator," he said. "They tied him to the insurance referral, the bank access attempts, and communications with your wife. He won't talk his way out of this." I didn't say good. I didn't say anything at all. That night I changed the locks again, even though the order was in place. I went through the house one more time and boxed up everything that belonged to Vanessa. Clothes, photos, gifts, a couple of decorative pillows she loved. I set the boxes in the garage and called her attorney to arrange pickup through a third party. No meeting, no goodbye, no last conversation where she could cry and make me question myself. 2 weeks later, on a cold morning, I drove out to Patapsco Valley State Park before sunrise, parked near the trailhead and sat in the car with my hands on the steering wheel. Trees stood bare. The world looked like it was holding its breath. I didn't call my mom, didn't text a friend, didn't post anything. I just sat there and let my mind go quiet in a way it hadn't been quiet in years. For a long time, I measured my worth by how much I could carry, by how many people I could keep comfortable, by how often I could swallow my own needs to make everybody else feel safe. That ended on Christmas night, when a glass of wine smelled like chemicals and my wife smiled like she was waiting for me to disappear. A car passed slowly behind me on the road. Another followed. Life kept moving. I exhaled once, started the engine, and drove back toward Baltimore with the sun already climbing, the protective order folded neatly in my glove compartment, and my phone finally silent.